Well, welcome to everyone. I am Dr. Lawrence Chatters. I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs here at Midland University. And let me tell you what, it is absolutely amazing to see standing room only in this space, because you are in for an amazing treat tonight with our speaker. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an intro to this series that we have going on here at Midland University. We call it Together, Bridges into the Future. And so far, we've had a couple of speakers. I'm very fortunate to have Mr. Spalding here tonight come and speak for us. But I just want to give you a little background on kind of where this program came from. You know, here at Midland, we believe in helping students learn and lead in the world with purpose. And that's what we want to see for all of our students. One of the ways that we help to facilitate that process is by representing ourselves here at this institution as a place that is inclusive, that is a place for everyone, where everyone matters, and of course recognizing that all of our students have unique attributes about them, whether it be cultural diversity or wherever they come from. Those things are important to us here. We hold those things dear, and we see it as one of the things that really brings value to our institution. And so when we came up with this series for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we wanted to make sure that we brought together a group of speakers who could fully represent that wide spectrum of diversity. And so to give you a little bit more information about this, we have our Dean, Todd Conkright from the Dunklau School of Business, and he's going to come up and tell you a little bit more about our program. I hope you enjoy it tonight. Thank you for coming.
Most important thing, I have to wake up the computer. So we'll figure that out in a second. All right, welcome to this series. We are very excited about what's going on here, as Lawrence said. You will see in your program, we've got a couple more events coming up. He didn't talk about his sister coming next month. She is the head of diversity and inclusion for the State College public school system in Pennsylvania, and will be coming to share about bias. And then our final session is in February, and we have a speaker from St. Olaf College up in Minnesota, as well as a panel of local business and organization leaders who are talking about how they have used or developed diversity and inclusion programs for their organizations. So we're really excited about that as well. But you're here to see Wyatt Spalding. So I'm going to have Merritt come up and introduce Wyatt, and we'll get you going.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Wyatt, you didn't know you were supposed to wear a blue suit, did you? Okay. My name is Merritt Nelson, and I have the distinct privilege to introduce someone who I would consider a friend. I met Wyatt Spalding in the fall of 2014, and I remember it well. Wyatt had just graduated from Fremont High School and was going to be a freshman here at Midland University. Wyatt was moving into the basement of Beagle Hall, right across the lawn here, and I was walking down the hallway on move-in day, and I stopped in, and Wyatt is a very driven individual. I didn't know that at the time, but Wyatt was set on not worrying about filling his cabinet with his clothes, or stocking his refrigerator, or making his bed. He just wanted his TV set up with his PS4. That's all he wanted. So we got that set up. I came back about an hour later, and his room was full of guys. There was probably 8 to 10 guys in there. They were laughing, they were eating snacks, they were playing Madden. I knew at that time that Wyatt was just going to be fine. However, I did know that Wyatt had some challenges. Wyatt had just undergone, was it back fusion surgery right before that? And I knew there was going to be a difficult time for Wyatt even to get to his classes. I was hoping that Midland University would have a positive impact on Wyatt. What I was not expecting was the positive impact that Wyatt would have on Midland University. I'm excited to hear his story. I'm excited for you to hear his story. So at this time, please help me welcome our speaker, Wyatt Spalding.
My dreams were crushed when I was 12 years old. When I was 12, I wanted to go out for my sixth grade basketball team with my twin brother Wes and my friends. So the night before tryouts, my dad has to sit me down and tell me, "You're not going to go out for the team, Wyatt, because you're cerebral palsy, you get really hurt, and you're just not strong enough, fast enough, or quick enough to keep up with the other kids." And as a 12-year-old, I was crushed. At 12, you're supposed to be included and go out for sports with your friends, with your siblings, but I had to sit on the bench and watch my friends play without me. What my dad did tell me was that, you know, Wyatt, even though you can't be on the actual team, you still have the ability to go shoot hoops in the driveway or go play basketball at the YMCA. Because when you were born, you know, that didn't seem possible.
Tap that.
So when I was born, Wes and I were born 2 months premature. I ended up having a problem with my esophagus where it wasn't attached to my stomach. And I had to go through all these surgeries. And I ended up having like 13 surgeries in the first 6 months of my life. And it was all thought was I wasn't going to live, or the next thing was like a doctor's, a physical therapist told my parents I'd never walk, jump, or run. So I was in the hospital for about 6 months, and even though I have no memory of that, I always use that as like motivation to try to get through stuff, because I was like, well, if I can get through that of all the ups and downs of me not living, I can try to get through anything. And I don't even know how I made it through. Growing up though, with cerebral palsy, it was tough. What bothered me was I was never really picked on, but people would talk down to me. They would talk to me like I was 5, or talk to me really slow and super loud, like I couldn't hear them. Like, you're right here, man. But one of the great things that I had is having to be a twin. Being a twin, it's helped me get through the ups and downs of having cerebral palsy. Because sometimes if someone would talk to me like I wasn't as smart as them, or they thought I was like had an intellectual disability instead of a physical one, then my brother would try to explain to them, I know he's fine, you can talk to him just like anybody else. And that's what I would try to tell people is that, I'm not affected intellectually, I just have a physical disability. And a lot of people got it once they heard me talk, or I would just tell them like, hey, I can understand what you're saying. And some people didn't, and I never really concerned myself with those people because they just don't get it. So I'm not going to waste my time trying to explain it. And growing up, I had a lot of good friends. But there were 3 guys in my group of friends that really didn't care if I had a disability or not. They treated me like one of the guys. One was my brother Wes. We played pickup basketball, and everybody would let me shoot. And Wes would either make me shoot over him, or he'd blow by. I had to blow by him, about to make a layup, and then he'd swap my shot off the backboard. All the time, yeah. What Wes was doing at that time, and I didn't even realize it, I was just mad that my shot got blocked, was he was showing everybody, he's just like us. Yeah, he has some physical limitations, but that doesn't mean we should treat him any different. My 2 best friends growing up were Elliot Globe. I met Elliot when I was 5, and Elliot and I, we would hang out, and we really liked football, and we just would watch games together all the time. And Elliot treated me like just anybody else. He didn't care if I had a disability or not. He just always saw me as Wyatt, not the guy with a disability. Probably my friend I'm the closest with is my best friend Kenny. Kenny lived right down the street from us, and he would come over and hang out with Wes and I almost every day in the summer. And when I would hang out with these three guys especially, and we would make jokes, bag on each other. And sometimes I'd make jokes about my cerebral palsy. Like if one of them beat me in a one-on-one game, I'd be like, congratulations, you just beat a guy. It was one good arm, one good leg. How does that make you feel? All right, I know I told Wes and Kenny this, especially Wes. But I'd say, if I didn't have cerebral palsy, I'd be a way better athlete. And these guys, they didn't do anything huge. They just treated me how I wanted to be treated. They didn't talk to me like I was 5, or call me like buddy all the time and treat me like a little kid. They treated me like my age, like 20, like at that time, a 12-year-old. And that's all I wanted, was to be treated just like everyone else. I know that there are some people with disabilities, they talk and act like little kids, but that's not their fault. It's just the way they were born. And what just really bugged me was people would assume that I couldn't understand them, or I wasn't maybe like intellectually on the same level as them. And that's the big thing, is that you shouldn't assume whether they have a disability or not, how smart or what somebody's capable of. Just think about how would you want somebody to approach you? Would you want them to approach you like a 5-year-old, or would you want them to approach you like an adult? And that's what my close friends in high school got. One of the hardest things I went through, Mary said, was that back surgery. I went through this major back surgery when I was a senior in high school. So all of my friends were getting ready to go off to college and doing fun things their senior year for the last time. I spent most of my senior year sitting at home in back pain. I had this 10-hour surgery where they took my scoliosis from my neck down the middle of my back. They had to pull it back up to keep it in place. And before that, I've never stood up straight before. I could never roll my head up. So that was a big life change. I remember looking in the mirror one time when I got home. I was like, what is that? Oh, it's my neck. So throughout that summer, I was going through rehab and trying to just focus on learning how to walk and keep my balance with a straight back for the first time in my life. So college was pretty far from my mind, only like a month or two before I started. And when I got to college, I went through what every freshman goes through. I was nervous. I didn't really know anyone, so I tried to put myself out there. I was in the library one day. My friend Marcus Franklin, he came up to me, and I had no idea who Marcus was. I don't know how he knew me, but he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, I see you like basketball. I always see you shoot hoops in the gym, so we should hang out sometime." A couple of days later, I'm shooting hoops in the gym, and he comes up to me with his other senior, Galen Goley, and they asked me to be the manager for the team. I said yes, and that was probably one of the best opportunities that I got from Midland. Because without being on the basketball team, I don't know if I would have made it through school. So my second week in college, I get pneumonia. I missed like 2.5 weeks right off the bat. I'm already struggling in class a little bit. School never really came easy to me. So now I'm stressed out with I gotta catch up, but I'm not gonna do the work because I feel so bad. It won't even matter because I'm not focused at all. So I missed 2.5 weeks. And when I come back, my dad dropped me off in my dorm. I'm thinking, this isn't gonna work out. Maybe I'll have to drop out after the first semester or after this year, because I don't know if I'll be able to keep up. And then Marcus reminded me, like, oh, you should still come to basketball practice, Wyatt. So I came to basketball practice the next day, and being on the team was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. Being on the basketball team, I just met so many great people, and it pushed me to want to work hard in school and to get my minor in coaching, which was my goal when I went to Midland, was to get that minor. And Marcus really put himself out there for me. He would always include me in the stuff with the team, and he picked me up in my dorm, and we'd go hang out with the basketball team. So he just made sure that I was included in whatever the team did. And that really meant a lot to me, because at the time, I'm trying to recover from my back surgery. And now I'm just recovering from pneumonia too. So I was having some real ups and downs and going through a little bit of depression at the time. But every time I went to basketball practice, my mood would change and I'd cheer up. Or every time I saw Marcus, one of the guys on the team, my attitude just changed. Another great guy I met on the team I was close to was James LaRosa. I met James the first day of basketball practice. We really hit it off because we're Boston Celtics fans. And so we talked about the Boston Celtics. And James too, he would pick me up in my dorm and take me to go hang out with the team. Marcus and James, they'd come over to my dorm and we'd play video games. And James wanted to make sure I said this, but most of the time he always won. So that part wasn't very fun for me. And Marcus would beat me too. But those two guys really, they included me with the basketball team when we really didn't have to. But even though I was just a manager, they made me feel like one of the guys, and especially at that time when I didn't know if college was going to work out. And I was going through this nerve pain in my back and back spasms. That really helped me get through one of the toughest times of my life. And all Marcus and James did was they were a friend to me. And that made a huge impact on my life. At the same time, I did hang out with the basketball team quite a bit, but I also hung out with a group of guys in my dorm room. My best friend in the dorm was Brandon Titoka, and he also impacted my life because I would talk to Brandon sometimes about what I was going through, or I would talk to him. We could just talk sports mostly. People in the dorm got tired of us talking sports because that's all we talked about, and especially Nebraska. We'd watch Nebraska basketball games together, and we just really hit it off. And those three guys, Marcus, and Brandon, and James, without them, I don't know if I would have made it through even that first semester. I was getting sick a lot. I missed like maybe every other week of school sometimes, or my back was always really sore, and my stamina was really low, so just like walking in my class, I'd be pretty tired after class. If I would miss a couple days of school, one of those guys would text me and ask where I was at. If I told them I was sick, they all would hope I'd come back soon and hang out with them. So just like the small things they did, even, just made a huge impact on my life. In life, you never know who the next person you might meet that could have a huge impact. And the first time I learned that friendship is really important, and if you go out of your way to include someone, it can make a big difference. It was when I was in the 7th grade. I went to go shoot baskets at the Y, just like any other day, and there was a pickup game going on. So I went to one of the side hoops where this guy was shooting layups. And as a 7th grader, I thought I didn't need to warm up, so I shot a 3. Except I missed the rim completely, and I clanked it off the backboard and bricked it. I hit this guy in the face. So I'm thinking like, oh crap. Really hope this guy gives me my ball back. Luckily he did. And he said his name was Justin Colwicky. And he said he would rebound for me. So he rebounded for me for a little bit. And then he left. A couple weeks go by. I'm at the Y again. And this time Justin sees me. And we have a real conversation this time. He asked me about my disability. And we both talked about basketball. Said he played for the Midland basketball team. So as a seventh grader, I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world that a Midland basketball player was talking to me, only in middle school. Then he writes his hand down, his phone number down on my hand, and tells me to call him. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. You know, a college basketball player wants to hang out with me. And so I tell my parents, and I don't think they believe me at first. Like, no, seriously, this guy actually wants to hang out with me. I do not write this on my hand myself. So he comes over a couple days later, and Justin and I have been best friends ever since. For 3 years, we hung out a lot. We played video games together, shoot baskets. He even repped some of my Special Olympic basketball games. And we just became like brothers. Even when he got married, I was a groomsman in his wedding. So that was really cool because at that time he had moved away, and we still kept in touch. And what Justin taught me is that it doesn't matter how old you are, because we're like 7 years apart. But you know, a true friend is always there for you, and if you include someone, you can make a huge impact on their life, whether you know it or not. And Justin made a huge impact on my life, especially at that time in middle school when my dad told me I couldn't play sports, and I was kind of figuring out how my disability really did affect me from my brother and my friends. So just hanging out with Justin made it feel like everything was going to be all right. So when I was in 6th grade, I just played basketball for the love of the game. I loved shooting baskets in my driveway. Even though I couldn't play on the team with Wes and my friends, I'd still go to their games, and I'd be excited for them, and I'd be excited during the games to watch, and I would keep book. But still, I was on the bench, and I didn't feel like one of the guys sometimes because I was the manager, I wasn't the player. And so I just thought, all right, I guess I'll just play basketball for fun for the rest of my life, and I won't play on the team anymore. And then my dad told me about Special Olympics when I was in the 7th grade, and it changed my life. I remember when I first started, I was so excited because I found a place on a team where I was an actual player. My first Special Olympic basketball game, I started. And I was so happy that I started, because I was so used to sitting on the bench. And my coach, Corey Piercy, told me I was starting. I tried to play it cool, like, okay. And then decided, like, holy crap, I'm a starter. One of my favorite memories, I was a sophomore in high school. And it's the first time that all my friends came to watch me. And Wes and Kenny were our coaches. And so we're up by a lot. And Wes takes me out. And the one thing I didn't do yet in the game was I wanted to make a three. All my friends were like, why, are you going to shoot a three? I was like, yeah, we'll see. Except we're up by a lot at this point. So Wes puts me back in the game. And I don't know, we had like that twin telepathy thing going on. And I just kind of gave this look like, can I shoot it? I know we're up by a lot, but I don't want to seem cocky. And I knew if I did it, if I shot the three without asking Wes, he would have pulled me. So he kind of gave me this nod, like, yeah, go ahead. Except we're playing full court on the side views, so you couldn't tell where the 3-point line was. So I just pulled up what seemed to be half court and launched it. And I banked it in. Everybody went crazy. It was so loud in there for a couple seconds. It was just an unbelievable feeling to hear people cheer for me. I never experienced anything like that before. And that's what one of the best moments of Special Olympics gave me. One of the sports I found through Special Olympics was tennis. And tennis, I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people through tennis. I've gotten to travel around the United States and play in some top tennis tournaments. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people. I've even met people that have cerebral palsy, just like me. And I've gotten to go to this one tournament in Charlottesville, Virginia, where it's like the top 32 players in the United States. And that's something I always wanted. I wanted to compete at the highest level I could. And that's one of the great experiences that I got through Special Olympics. But my dream in Special Olympics was making it to the USA Games. In 2010, I found out about the USA Games. And so from 2010 till my junior high school, I was working on making it to the 2014 Games. So I think I'm almost there. I once stayed a couple times, and people were telling me, yeah, if you choose tennis, then you might be able to go. But then I had to have the back surgery, and they said it would take 2 full years for me to recover. So my dream was crushed. I felt that feeling, that same feeling when my dad told me I couldn't play sports anymore. And I wanted to quit, I wanted to give up, but I didn't. Through my recovery, I just kept telling myself, you gotta keep going, because in 4 years, you're gonna have the 2018 USA Games. And I knew I was gonna make it. I would just imagine myself playing there. And I did it. I made it to the 2018 Games. I played tennis, and in singles, I made it all the way to the semifinals. And I lost in a tiebreaker 8-10. But the funny thing is too, when I went to that Virginia tournament a year before, I met one of my best friends, Matt, who has cerebral palsy just like me, and I ended up losing to him. So it was a pretty good match. My doubles partner, Haley, who's here today, we made it all the way to the finals in mixed doubles. And we're down like 4-8, and it looks like it's going to be over. We ended up coming back and winning 10-8. And that was an incredible feeling to win that gold medal that first time at the USA Games. And what that taught me was we all have dreams and goals. And yeah, it might take us longer to reach our dreams than we expected, but you can't give up when things get hard. I could have easily gave up when I had that back surgery. I had the attitude of, because of the back surgery, I'm not going to make it to the games. But because of the toughness that my family taught me and my friends, I didn't want to give up because I knew that because of Special Olympics, I still had goals and dreams that I wanted to accomplish. One of the great things about Special Olympics is Unified. And Unified holds a special place in my heart because I get to play with Wes and Kenny. One of my favorite memories is we're playing state basketball a couple years ago. We're down by 7 with like 90 seconds left. And all of a sudden we make a couple stops and we make 2 or 3 baskets. And we're down by 3 with 10 seconds. Kenny comes down court and he passes it to one of the athletes and he shoots it and he misses. Wes grabs the rebound and he just throws it out to me. And I catch it on the 3-point line, and I had a guy on my face so I couldn't even see the basket. I trained it at the buzzer. Sent us into overtime. But I had a chance to win the game with a free throw. I sort of missed it. But that's all right, because my teammates backed me up, and we won in double overtime. But that was just a great experience that I could share with Wes and Kenny on the basketball court. We didn't get to play together in high school because I had cerebral palsy. And we would always talk about, what if you didn't have CP? We'd all 3 play together. And Special Olympics gives us those memories and moments of playing football and basketball together as teammates. we're all going to face adversity in our life. We all have struggles. We all have ups and downs. And to overcome adversity, I believe that we all handle it in our own way. And I face, daily struggles just like anybody else. On top of that, I face the struggles you deal with cerebral palsy. Some of the things that's hard for me is it's hard for me to open like a protein bar, and you just take it and you rip it. I can't do it because my hands, there's CP in my hands, so I can't do that. I have to have somebody open it for me, or get a pair of scissors to open it. And those are just some of the things that are hard to me that would be easy to somebody without a disability. And I don't speak for everybody that has a disability because everybody's affected differently. That's why I didn't like it when sometimes people would say, like, to make me feel better, why we all have disabilities. And I would kind of tell them, no, we all don't have disabilities. We all have struggles. And we're all going to face adversity in our life. But the only difference is that if you have a disability, you do get held back a little bit. If it wasn't for Midland, I wouldn't have had anywhere to go for an education. And I wouldn't have met all these great people I met in Midland through my freshman and sophomore year that I went here. Because I can go to Hastings College where my brother went, or UNL where Kenny went, because my medical issues, my cerebral palsy, I have to be close to my parents just in case I have something come up. So I think we all don't know exactly what anybody's really going through or how anybody truly feels. We all deal with struggles in our own way. But what I've learned is that you can always be there for someone. You can always tell them, if you need anything, I'm here. Or sometimes my parents, when I would be in the hospital, just sitting there with me made a huge difference. So what I hope you take from this speech is, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Don't assume somebody with a disability can't understand you. Talk to them the way you want somebody to talk to you. I also hope you go out and you join groups that have people from different backgrounds, like Special Olympics. Special Olympics, we're always looking for coaches and unified players. We really need some unified players. And, unified players like Wes and Kenny, and especially our coaches, Corey, and my coach, Corey Pearson, he sacrifices a lot for all of us, so we can be included in Special Olympics. And just a great organization, and I hope you come out and play unified. If anybody has any questions, Corey's here. If you want to know more about coaching, being a volunteer, or a unified partner, Corey's happy to answer any of your questions. But like I said, at the end of the day, just include people and get the chance to know people like Kenny and Elliot, Marcus and James, all went out of the way to include me and made me feel like it didn't matter if I had a disability, because I'm just like everybody else. Thanks for listening to me today. Thanks for Midland for inviting me, and for my brother Wes for helping me with this PowerPoint speech. Thank you.
You get an idea that Wyatt has lots of friends, right? Lots of friends, it sounds like. Everywhere you go, you make new friends. This is awesome. We have a couple minutes, and I'd like to see if anyone has questions for Wyatt about his experience. Our theme really is what it's like to be me. So any questions that you have for Wyatt on what it's like to be him and kind of his experience?
Tell me what unified sports is, Special Olympics.
So what unified is like somebody's I have disability, so I'm like an athlete. They call us athletes. And the unified partners like Wes or Kenny, they don't have a disability, but they can still play. Every sport's different. Like football, you can Unified Primary has more freeway to like compete harder and play. Like basketball, the idea is to play defense and rebound and get the ball to the athlete so they can score. And if you want to know more about that, like I said, Corey can answer your questions, but also Wes, because Wes is a Unified Primary. And it's pretty cool. More high schools are doing it, I know, and I just heard today that like UNL has like a unified flag football league. So, yeah, just a good way to kind of get people, get kids and other people to be around people with disabilities. Because when I was in school, I did kind of sense that people, they didn't know how to act around me because they didn't have a sibling that had a disability. So for me, I would just like make a joke and then I'll be okay. But yeah, Unified really, it just helps us all come together and shows that, it doesn't matter if you have a disability or not, and we're all included.
Great. Yes.
Hi, Mike, it's good to see you again. Every so often I get to catch up, so I thought that was one review. But you're encouraging yourself to look away, to risk something, and I simply think I would take that home and think about that completely. I'm just wondering what your next challenge is.
Well, I want to live on my own. I might have the possibility of moving out and living with one of my teammates and this other guy. I don't know yet, but some of my big dreams are just kind of really simple. I want to live on my own, and it is hard because of my medical issues. And so, like, that would just be a real big step to move out of my parents' house and be independent more. So that's what I'm really working on right now.
So Wyatt, I know that coaching and mentoring has always been a passion for you. Are you coaching or mentoring others in Special Olympics or other people?
I mean, yeah, I teach tennis lessons at the Y in the summer, so I do that. And I thought about maybe getting into coaching basketball. And I don't really coach Special Olympics, but I don't know, I guess Wes and my coaches say my teammates look to me as a leader. I mean, just being around Wes and Kenny, they taught me a whole strategy. So like I was telling kids, yeah, if you do this, this will happen. Oh, let's try this. So I guess I kind of coach like that. So. What's up, Marcus?
So, with being a friend of yours, I always wonder, you have every reason to be negative and think like such, but why do you choose to always be happy and continue to just inspire others?
Well, I probably say my family. I mean, yeah, people say that, man, you always have a good attitude, Wyatt. Well, sometimes around my family, I do not. But, one of the things my dad told me when I couldn't play sport was, you gotta work 10 times harder, Wyatt. You gotta work harder than everybody else when everybody's inside watching video games, or playing video games and watching TV. You gotta be outside shooting hoops if you want to make the team because you have cerebral palsy. So that just kind of pushed me to, like, oh, I gotta work harder than everybody else. So, I may not be the best athlete, but I'm gonna outwork them. And my brother would always tell me, like, you're a good athlete, you just have to practice more. And, I always figured my parents were athletic, so I have to have some athleticism.
What was your biggest challenge as a student at Midland?
Probably studying the test. I wasn't the best test taker in high school, so college is way harder than high school. But all the teachers were really great about helping me out. Going to a small school, I could always go and talk to the teachers like, hey, I don't get this. What does this mean? And I mean, my grades probably weren't the best, but my goal was just pass. Even if it's not a great grade, I just wanted to pass. And taking tests and trying to explain to teachers like, yeah, I need like certain accommodations. Like, I'm considered legally blind, so like I need like really big print to read stuff. I'm trying to get teachers to give me that stuff. Even in high school, that was really hard. or I would record my notes because it was hard for me to keep up and take notes. But the teachers here are really great about working with me.
All right, thank you so much. I also want to mention, we have sponsors of this series, the With Purpose series, and a couple of our sponsors are here, Dave and Sheila Monkey. So thank you so much for your support and what you do for our community. Appreciate it. So what I want to do now, and we have a committee that has worked on this whole event, and we have them all come up, and is continuing on this theme of what it's like to be me. We all have an identity, we all have, some of us fit a stereotype, some of us have just these, this is who I am. And so we want to share our personal perspective on what it's like to be me. So come on up, don't be shy, people, come on. So somehow, some of the group voted that I would go first, but I think I'm going to turn the tables a little bit when I get up here. So should be Brooke. Oh, Brooke, come on. Higher. All right, so. So they don't know. I'm going to just start at the very beginning. Whoever ended up in that corner.
Okay, well, my name is Shalina Finlay, and I work in the Academic Affairs Office as the Administrative Coordinator. And so we were trying to decide what to do for our portion of this. We decided to do what's it like to be me. And let me just give you a little bit of background of who I am, and I'm kind of winging this, so I'm just going to be completely honest here. So my background, I am Hispanic, Lebanese, Scottish, and German. You wouldn't know that by looking at me. And so growing up, I was born in Texas, moved around all over the United States growing up, and never thought about how I looked, like the color of my skin. In all the different classes, I would have to be the new person in elementary school all the way through middle school. So getting older, and the culture of the United States changes a little bit, and people come up to me all the time, speak to me in Spanish, and I'm like, oh, I don't speak Spanish, sorry. And they look at me sometimes like, why don't you speak Spanish? You're brown, you look Hispanic. And I'm like, well, I'm also Lebanese and Scottish, and my mom did not teach me Spanish. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. And one thing that happened to me yesterday at my other job that I work at Maurice's here in Fremont, and helping a lady, and she asked me, are you Mexican? Just like that. I'm like, well, I am Hispanic, but also I'm Lebanese, Scottish, and German. She's like, oh, you look different. And I was like, yes, I do. And she proceeded to ask me, is it hard for you to live here in Fremont? And I said, well, no, because I don't live in Fremont. I live up in Lyons, Nebraska. It's a really small town, but I did grow up here. But so it doesn't bother me when people ask me these things because they don't know. Like, I am a melting pot, which I'm totally fine with that. I'm proud of that. Like, I'm proud that I'm Hispanic and Lebanese. And but it's kind of hard sometimes when people do assume that I speak Spanish and I don't, and I do feel bad, but I don't. So that's a little bit of what it's like to be me in my life daily.
Transparency, I'm kind of doing this as well. However, my name is Denise Craighead. I am the assistant registrar here at Asheville University. I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Lived in Michigan for about a year, and then I moved here with my sister and my nephew. I grew up in a impoverished neighborhood. Growing up, it was infested with gangs, and our high school had metal detectors there, complete kind of stereotypical things you see on TV. However, when I got to high school, it never felt like it was a dangerous place. So, still growing up, majority of our schools from elementary schools fed into our high school, all Black students for the most part. However, I went to a private Black institution at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, and I can say that it was a complete culture shock because I hadn't had the experience of being in a place with so many people that did not look like me or did not experience some of the same things that I had. So being there, it allowed me an opportunity to kind of start learning about different perspectives from other folks, as well as how people perceive me. And as I look back over, as I think back over some things that I remember some like microaggressions that are said to me, like sometimes people will be like, you have such great poise when they hear me speak. Because when they learn about where I'm from, they assume that I'm not as educated as I may be. Also, other instances would be, we had an incident that happened on campus that happened to unfortunately take place during a party or one of the organizations had taken place. And one of the organizations that put together, and the organization was majority Black students. And after the event had happened, the atmosphere on the campus had changed dramatically, where when you walk into a room, you just feel like that everybody is judging you or it has something to do with something bad that happened just because of how you look. So living every day as a Black woman, you either kind of have to choose your battles of what you want to try to address and what you want to ignore. But I definitely always try to take the opportunity to, if it feels like it's a learning opportunity, is to definitely educate people about what their assumptions are about folks based on where they're from or where they went to school or where they grew up at. So it's a struggle sometimes, but again, you kind of just have to just think of the broader picture, which is what I have always been taught to do by my parents. It's just, in the moment, it's in the moment, but you have to think about how your reactions and what you encounter, how can it affect your future. So I can say that I'm very pleased about this, being a part of this opportunity to bring forth conversations about things like this on the campus, and I'm just looking forward to more things to do. Day in the life of police.
Hi there, I'm Brooke Schwamke. I'm the administrative assistant for the College of Arts and Sciences, and I also teach history part-time. So I spend a great deal of time in academia and even more time with my nose in a book. Usually my husband's friends come over and they make fun of me for always having a book. Like they'll come over to watch a football game and I'll be reading during halftime or something. So something that they wouldn't expect from me, that a lot of people see me as this small 5'2" white girl from rural Nebraska. What they don't expect is that I'm the person that taught my husband how to tile the floor. I'm the person that taught him how to install cabinetry. I taught him how to side a house. I'm the person in my house that goes out and cleans the gutters. I'm the person that fixes whenever we have like a drainage issue. I'm that person that has to go fix that. When we first started dating, he was very shocked to know that I changed my own oil and changed my own tires. So I guess my stereotype is that most people wouldn't expect that a woman knows how to do that, especially someone that spends most of her life in academia, including my own husband, who I've been with for nearly 10 years. So yeah, that's me.
Lawrence is in the back and he has to leave, so if he can come up, but he's part of this group as well. He told me I should take on his personality, you know, that I am a younger African American, but I didn't think I could pull it off very well. So I am a middle-aged Christian married white man in the Midwest. So in many ways, I fit the stereotype. On any metric, I am the privileged person, right? I have never had anybody pull me over because of the color of my skin. I've not had people question me being in a place where I shouldn't be. Right? I could probably sneak in anywhere and get away with it, right? Not that I do. Right? But in second grade, I lived in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I was the only white person in my class. So I grew up around diversity. Grew up around appreciating people for who they are and not judging them. So very thankful for my parents doing that. Had some very, very good friends from all different races and backgrounds. So third through sixth grade, I was in a very white middle class neighborhood school, but moved to Minneapolis. Very, very diverse high school, probably 25 to 40% African American and other nationalities and races represented. So I just grew up that way, but I didn't realize some of the biases that are there that just never occurred to me. Right? So this series really has opened my eyes a lot. We went to a conference in Minneapolis over the summer and heard some really great speakers, and you just start thinking, I had no idea. I didn't know that that's what your experience is. It was really, really informative and helpful as we start breaking down what we assume about people and just looking at this group. You start making judgments, you start stereotyping people, and you're this type of person. This is what your background is probably like. And as Wyatt shared as well, people make assumptions that you have intellectual disabilities. Not the case, right? So we have to stop judging so quickly and be open to who people are.
I would say ditto to the first part of your presentation. I mean, I'm female, right? So a female, Caucasian, middle age. I'm a grandma. Oh, you're a grandma. Right? I see that in common. So I would say kind of grew up on a farm, so always Nebraska. I'm Nebraska born and raised. I've always lived in Nebraska. I would say that I always kind of had this yearning to learn more about other people. So growing up in a small town, I couldn't wait to go to college because I wanted to learn about other people and other things. And so literally the day after I graduated from high school, I moved to Lincoln and started college. And then I started working with a company called Selection Research, which became Gallup, and I think it really helped to open my eyes about people and about learning about what their strengths are, what they bring to the table, and that everyone comes at things from different angles. I'm kind of stubborn, I know how I am, I know how I like things done, and it helped to think about other people in terms of their talent and that they come at things from different angles, and that's good, and we need each other, and we need those diverse perspectives. And I remember one time I was on an assignment with Gallup. I had to go to and work with these men from Saudi Arabia who were completing a degree program. And it was so interesting because it was at the time where we didn't understand the Muslim religion. We had a lot of questions and I think a lot of angst about that. And these men did not want to come to the United States because they felt like they'd be disrespected. Their leader would not allow them to come to the United States. And so we would work with them in South Korea, we'd be in London, we'd be in different places. I went to London to work with these gentlemen, and number one, I was a female working with leaders from Saudi Arabia who didn't understand why a woman was the one chosen from Gallup to come work with them, and I was in a management capacity. And one of of their leaders, the man who was leading this group, you could tell he was testing me a lot. And I've never, ever in my life felt like I was being questioned or tested like I was at that time. I remember at night we said we're going to go out and have dinner. He said, we will walk. And I was in heels, so I'm walking around London, and I think we walked like 4 miles that night, and he was just testing me. And I wasn't, so I did my best in that regard. But the next day we were in the class, and one of the men who was in the program came up to me, we were having a break, and he said, they called me CK. It wasn't Connie, it was CK. And I said, yes. And he said, I want you to know, he said, I have many wives, but there is one true love of my life. And he said, I want you to know that. I want you to know that I have many wives, but I have one true love, and this is who I consider my wife. And I just thought that was so interesting that he felt that he had to come to me and tell me that. And so I thought to myself, I hope I wasn't giving off an attitude or impressing upon my beliefs or my system. And so that was a big teaching moment for me, just to understand and just to think about how am I presenting myself, and am I accepting and understanding and working to understand their values, their cultures, and their beliefs as well. So that was a big moment for me. So I love being here at Midland. I love working with our students in our Career Center because I get the chance to help them understand and appreciate their diverse talents and perspectives, and try to work with them to help them make their dreams come true and create that career that they want. So, and I love programs like this because it helps me to think broader and in a bigger way, and I think it'll help our students as well.
Good evening, my name is Lisa Elias, and I am the career advisor here at Midland University. I've been here 6 weeks, it's been great. Todd kind of like put me on the spot. He's like, yes, you're coming up too. I said, oh, okay. I'm glad I read my questions. I am originally from Mississippi, so stereotype-wise, like, yes, I'm a Southern girl. Yes, I like fried chicken. Yes, I like to cook. Yes, I like to host people in my home. All of those stereotypes, I totally live up to. I had a great college experience. One of the typical things was join a sorority, and so I live up to those stereotypes completely, and I'm okay with them. I like them a lot. I would have to say something you probably wouldn't know, just looking at me on the surface, that people typically stereotype. Even though I'm in my mid-30s and I'm a Southern belle, I like to say I don't have any children, I'm not married, and that's just one of those stereotypes that I do not, I don't live up to. That's not a part of my life right now, I should say. And then the other thing, surface level, that you would know looking at me, is that I deal with anxiety and depression, especially around this time of year, in the winter time. It's kind of stressful. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And yeah, I think that's one of those things that you just wouldn't know looking at me. And I think that's all I have to share. And so that's the day in the life of me. Thanks.
Well, I'm Matt Hojansky, and I work in the admissions office. I do all the data and reporting and geeky computer stuff. I love it. And so, kind of like Todd, you look at me, and I'm 32, I'm a white guy. So you kind of just assume there's all of this kind of inherent privilege and all that. But I'm also gay, and so there's a kind of hidden thing where that's one thing that's different about everyone up until Lisa, is you make stereotypes based on how people look, but you wouldn't know that Lisa deals with anxiety and depression, and you wouldn't just look at me and know that I'm gay. And I also have the privilege of, the term is passing, where I don't fit a ton of the stereotypical gay things, where I don't have, that kind of stereotypically gay affect when I talk as much, and I don't dress in a certain way, and I don't necessarily walk and have mannerisms that are super stereotypically gay. So I have that privilege where often people just go and they assume that I'm straight, and they talk, and I don't have to worry about anything. But what a lot of people don't know is, or don't make an assumption is, when a gay person comes out, that's the last time that they ever come out. They tell their family, they tell their friends. But it's almost a daily situation for most gay people, especially if you, like me, where you would be considered passing, where people just assume, they'll ask you, every weekend, if I'm, in Uber or a Lyft or something like that, the default conversation is always, like, how's your girlfriend, or do you have kids, or tell me about your wife? And sometimes, kind of like how Denise said, you just kind of choose your battles. Do I say, well, actually, I'm gay? Or do you just say, no, I'm single? Or do you go, or you play along sometimes? Sometimes I think it's fun when I'm like in an Uber or Lyft, I just like make up a persona. And just see how it goes. I don't know, you guys don't ever do that. It's kind of fun. Like pretend you're from a different state, or you do something else. But it's kind of a constant thing, and it's also, especially being in a state like Nebraska where there are no protections for LGBT people in terms of whether being fired for that or not. It's always, you kind of always have to read the room. You have to know, okay, am I going to be my true self, or am I going to kind of hold some things back? What's going to happen? Do I let everyone know? And then again, you pick your battle when if people find out, or you make a comment, do you really dive into it, or do you not? And I always, like, one of my favorite memories from a long time ago was one of the admissions counselors who worked with me, grew up in a really small town, and I think I'm the first gay person he'd ever met, or that he knew. And so when he finally found out, like, we went to a restaurant here in town, and it was like 80 questions. He just wanted to know all of these things, and it's like I could, take the time to educate. And I did. He had a bunch of questions, but sometimes you just don't want to do that. So it's kind of, I think the message a lot of us are saying is and just like with Wyatt, you see people and you make assumptions. And I think one of the goals of this whole series is you're going to make assumptions and you kind of can't help it, but you need to overcome those assumptions and take the time to talk to people and educate yourself, and understand that all of us have different perspectives and different ways that we view the world and how the world views us, and it impacts how we are as a person. So take the time and get to know people and learn stuff.
I was just waiting to see how everything went, so nice job. Way to save your time, man. So the reason that I ended up stepping up here is because I do have to go to another event, but we ended up having time. And I did want to talk about the African-American male perspective, because oftentimes it's unfortunately left out. So if I think about how I fit certain stereotypes, I must say that I do fit some of those stereotypes. And as some of the folks have mentioned up here already, sometimes I get the opportunity to step into that, other times I get a chance to step out. So I was actually born with a condition called albinism, and so basically both of my parents are darker complected, but I came out with very white skin, and so my older sister also has albinism, and so I always joke with folks that when she came out, the doctor looked at my mom, and my mom looked at my dad looked back at the doctor like, what is going on here? Somehow we have a white child. I'm not sure if this is my child. So the second time when I came out and I looked exactly like my sister, my dad just looked at the doctor with a really stern look and he said, I'm just kidding, we already have one at home. So, but the other thing that comes with albinism, unfortunately, is a vision disability. And so I was born legally blind. And so that's something that a lot of people don't know about me. And so as we talk about passing, I get a chance, fortunately, because I can see well enough to walk around without needing a cane, to pass as if I have good vision and do other things that I've really had to work hard to get myself to be able to do, but I get to pass with that. We talk about some of the other stereotypes, though, as Wyatt actually mentioned, like when I was in high school, when I was here at Midland, I had to use large print books, and so that was an opportunity I didn't get a chance to pass, because when I tried to, like in high school and stuff, I got really bad grades because I couldn't see the board. So my mom didn't let that go. So I had to really step into that, what some people consider to be a disability, I consider it to be an ability, because I don't get to see some things that other people see, like bugs and birds and stuff like that. I never see those. So, the bugs is good to not see. The birds, I kind of miss those. But, it's so interesting, because we do all have some challenges that we face on a daily basis. One of the challenges I face kind of coming through school here and then going on into the workplace is that people always make assumptions about me. Because you're African-American, male, they look at me, they size me up a little bit, and I tell them I went here to Midland, Lutheran College at the time. Oh, did you go there to play basketball? I said, no. Did you go there to play football? No. Okay, so why were you at Midland? That's kind of the next question. And I actually came here on an academic scholarship. And so, surprise, surprise, right? But the other thing that people don't know about me is that, you know, they look at me and they see that I'm really young and they have no idea that I have a doctorate in counseling psychology, right? And they always look at me and they size me up again and they ask me questions. If you're African American and you're male, there's some things that you're just supposed to do, right? And I kind of break all those molds in a very unique way. But I'm also a rapper and I'm also a DJ. So if you consider those things to be, you know, parts of African American culture, I jump directly into those things. But on the other side of things, I happen to marry a young woman from West Point, Nebraska. So I've spent a lot of my time in kind of like rural Nebraska. I know a lot about rural Nebraska. We actually own land in Nebraska, which there's not a lot of African American men that own land in Nebraska. I have lots of farmland. So there's some interesting aspects about being in Nebraska and being a black male that have an impact on you. And as Wyatt was saying, as everyone else is set up here, get to know somebody, spend time, open your heart and your mind to other people and their perspectives, because you never know who you can meet. Just like Wyatt, he's met so many friends over the years. I mean, gosh, I think he's going to be a politician because he seems to make friends like so quick, right? But give people an opportunity. Let people know my heart is open to you, because that's what you find when you open your heart and your mind to other folks, is that you'll be surprised how much we actually have in common rather than the differences that we have. And so that's just a little story about me, and I hope you really enjoyed the rest of the stories of the folks up here. I'm going to get back to top. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for sharing what it's like to be meet with everyone. What questions do you have, and either of the panel? What's resonating in your minds as you hear what we've said, what Wyatt shared with us? What's coming to mind? What do you do with this information? Yeah.
I have questions.
Hi, Brian. I think that's you, right? Okay. It absolutely was hard, because the same way that we have stereotypes outside of our culture, we have stereotypes inside of our culture. So when I came to Midland, first of all, most of the other African American men on campus were here in athletics, so they made that same assumption about me, that I was supposed to be here playing something. The other thing was, within our African American culture, we have this hierarchy that we build based on the skin color that you have, right? Which was established from like slavery times. So essentially, the lighter skinned you are, the more people think that you're less black. And so most people assumed about me that I was biracial, and so, you know, they, oh, well, you're clearly mixed with white, and would that make you less cool than us because we're not? And so I had a lot of issues to face, not only from my own cultural folks on campus, but other people, because I always told folks, you know, white people said that I wasn't white enough, and black people said I was too white, so I didn't know what I was, right? So there were a lot of challenges, and that's one of the things I think is so awesome about Midland now, is that the people of color here on campus have a larger community, and there's all kinds of people here from different places and different backgrounds, but not everybody is the same, right? So we still face some of those challenges on this campus today, but it was different when I was here, because there were honestly like 17 of us, okay? And so it was a challenge, because we were a small group of folks, and, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you're in someone's culture that you're going to get along with them.
Other questions? So did you know that Midland is the most racially diverse campus in Nebraska?
Woo! Yeah.
Right? So I think what we're learning through this series is diversity does not equal equity, right? And so that's what we're trying to get after, is how do we make an equal playing field for everyone. We're welcoming people, we're bringing in diversity, but do you feel that it's an equitable space? Any thoughts or questions on that? Good question. What do we mean by equitable? So there's this great picture. Can we act it out? There's this cartoon that people are standing on different things and being able to see over a fence, right? So you have somebody who's very short and somebody who's very tall, and you have these different platforms, or the surface that's not uneven. How do you make that so everybody can see over the fence, right? And I don't know if I can do it justice. I think you probably can as far as the being invited to the dance.
So I think what we're talking about when it comes to equitable or equity when it's looking at an educational setting is everybody having similar opportunities despite their challenges. And so that means that for us as an institution, we have to meet people where they are and support them to get to where they need to go. That's really what equity is all about. It's about if you have a challenge, if there's a significant barrier in front of you, your institution is actually responsible for helping remove that barrier because we already understand the inherent privilege of being able to come to, you know, a campus and get a college education. We know there are challenges, so we need to help remove challenges. We need to be proactive about making sure that students get support while they're here on campus for their mental health, for other levels of well-being. That's what we mean by equity in this space. If you happen to need any accommodations, those accommodations need to be available to you so you can learn just like everyone else in the class. For me, you know, equity looked like everybody else is reading small books. I have giant books with giant pages that fold out, but I still have the information and I can read, you know? So that's kind of what kind of an example of equity would be. And we still have a long way to go on this campus, I'll be honest. Nobody's saying that this campus is equitable yet, but we're working toward it. And we're open to listening to students when it comes to what they need and what they want to make themselves successful here on this campus.
And why this keeps coming back to me. Other questions or thoughts on diversity, equity, inclusion? Yeah.
I don't know, just something on the top of my head is, even, like, I understand that a lot of people face adversity and a lot of things like that. But, you know, throughout your life, you face so much adversity, a lot of people just become kind of colder, I guess. So they don't assume something will be open to them or have an open heart. So they're already that way, but they're just, you know, I don't know, they kind of push people away. That kind of tendency. So even if you want to be the friend, you want to do this, it's harder. So I feel like, I don't know, I think it's hard. I don't know where I'm going with that.
So it sounds like, if I understand correctly, you know, you're talking about maybe some of the microaggressions that Denise was talking about, or even more overt aggressions that you felt because of who you are, right? And so at some point you just shut down. Like, I'm not even going to try. People are not going to understand me. I'm going to just kind of stay another. Is that what you're saying? So, you know, I think that's a challenge. So how do we, and that's part of the inclusion piece of it, I think, is that we need to look at people and ask them questions. What is it like to be you, and how do we make a space for you here? Yeah, Jen?
I think your other, you were talking about the reference to the dance, that we have a lot of, maybe some diversity on campus, so we have people that are at the dance, but then if you're at the dance, do you get invited to dance? Okay, and then, you know, do you get to be friends and totally inclusive after you've danced with one another?
And sometimes it's including dance lessons.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Well, yeah.
Other thoughts or questions? All right, I think these people are ready to run off the stage. So we do have some refreshments here. I hope you'll stay around and hang out with us. And thank you for attending. Appreciate it.
Well done, sir.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Thank you.